We're here in Bagni di Lucca, and we've just finished the weekend conference, the Infinite Consciousness Conference, which has been hosted by the Laszlo Institute for New Paradigm Research. And we have the fortune of actually having the opportunity to sit down with Victor Sims, who is on his way to the airport. So we're going to capture this outside, and next door we have a Rustico being restructured. So I hope you'll bear with us with the sound of the drill in the background. Victor, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Victor, over the course of this past couple of days, you've introduced us to some very, very interesting technology. Before we explore that, can we take a step back and understand a bit about your background and what's led you on this line of research that you're doing?
Indeed. It all started about 25 years ago. As a sound engineer, I was recording some new age, I would say, new age in inverted commas, musicians. And I got to hang out with them for a couple of weeks because we were doing some recording as they were playing in front of audiences and things. So instead of going back home, I hung around with them, and they introduced me to crystals and things. And as a sound engineer, and really an engineer, you know, I usually my background is sort of welding and building boxes and building stuff. You know, that's the sort of engineer I was. So to hear about crystals and things was a bit out there. But I knew that crystals and the vibration of crystals were used in the recording studio stuff that I was, you know, the microphones and the equipment all had quartz crystals in. So I was fairly open-minded, and I hung around with them, and they introduced me to crystals and the energy that comes out of a crystal. So they offered me a crystal, a quartz crystal point, and I waved it over my hand, and it's like, wow, I can feel this. What is that thing that's coming out the end? You know, from an engineering point of view, it's got to be something.
So you're feeling this. So you're
for the first time.
So and you're also an empath. So
I am now.
Okay.
I wasn't then.
So can the average person pick a crystal up and feel that?
Actually, the answer is virtually everybody can. Yes. We do this sort of test for them because people just don't realise that they can do it, and it's such a simple thing to do. There's literally a quartz point, one point on the end, and to wave it around across the fingers or up and down. And if people are more kinesthetic, they have a better chance of feeling it much more quickly. And for people who are learning, you know, visually or auditorily, then it's a more subtle process for them.
So based on your style of learning, you may be sensitive to this, or
that is absolutely true. Yes. So I think kinesthetics rule in this particular case.
Okay. So you can try this at home.
Yeah, definitely.
And depending on your ability or your method of learning, you may or may not feel this energy coming from the crystal.
Yes, and then it poses a question. What is this? You know, how is it that you can feel the energy from a crystal? What energy is that? Is it electromagnetic? Is it ions coming off? What is it? And of course that started my whole research into what is it. And I've discovered many different things, been on many courses now, and met some fantastic teachers, of which I have much gratitude for, because they've shown me various different esoteric things that I've been able to learn, and techniques that I've been able to then replicate, which has been fantastic. So it didn't start until I was 35.
Wow.
So I had nothing before that. It was just, you know, I didn't know about all of this stuff, or had no sensitivity either.
Oh, interesting.
So it just kind of switched on just like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now we're 25 years later?
More than that now, yes.
And you've taken this along a line of development that's quite remarkable.
Yes, but because of the opportunity I had with my teachers, they were obviously interested in their own disciplines, and they had their own skill set, etc., etc. So I followed, initially I followed the course of radionics, because I'm an engineer and I write software and I do all that sort of thing.
Right.
So I was involved in understanding radionics, which I did, and then I built equipment for radionics.
Can you define what radionics means?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky actually. So I would say it's the ability to sample a remedy. It may even be just a beautiful flower or something like that, the vibration of, and put it into a numeric string of numbers that represents that.
So creating a translation
It's a
for a
translation,
vibration
and
of objects
Yeah.
that are not usually thought of to have that quality.
Well, no,
by-
actually, anything could be, in the radionics terms, anything could be, we could pick up this leaf here and sample that, or this one, or this one, or this one,
Uh-huh.
and actually make a radionic pattern.
Uh-huh.
But the thing was, it was a translation,
Right.
and that just didn't work for me. After a very short while, a year or two, I realised that actually this wasn't pure enough.
Ah.
So then I started to try to understand how we could use or capture the signature of the plant, but actually have it replicated in a much more authentic and truthful way. I'm
And
sure
was your vision of this as using it in a healing modality?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, my vision was. I had a vision, actually, oddly enough, which was in 1991, whereby I was meditating on the idea of sampling and things like that. And Rescue Remedy was the first one I sampled. That's probably copyrighted, so I'm probably not allowed to say that. But anyway, Rescue Remedy was the first thing I sampled. And then we could, at will, play the Rescue Remedy back and repotentize it into a glass, and then people would have the same type of experience. So with that in mind, I was in my meditation, and I was just sort of, I don't know, looking to the future. I don't think I was doing it intentionally,
Right.
but just sort of thinking about it. And then suddenly I saw this screen, which was a bit like the, in Stargate, where they had that sort of silvered screen where they sort of go through.
Right.
It was a very similar experience to that, and I just popped my head through this screen, and with reference to sampling and seeing how this might go, and there was this complete vista like that, 300 and, well, it wasn't 360 degrees, but 180 degrees in front of me like this, of complete unlimitedness
Wow.
with reference to this.
Wow.
And as
Wow.
a speaker,
Yeah.
there's
Goose flesh.
There's goose flesh.
Yeah.
So it was quite a profound experience.
Was it visual? Was it?
It was a
were
visual
you
experience,
feeling it?
yeah.
So you were
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah, I was seeing kind of this like unlimitedness. It's like, wow, that's cool. I've got to get me some of this, So then, with the help of my teachers, and I've had some Lam teachers and some spiritual teachers from different countries, and they their skill set allowed me to see that we could help people evolve on their spiritual path, whatever religion that was. But along their spiritual path, we could help them evolve by helping remove some of the conditioning by offering patterns, to help a person balance their chakras, or to release ancestral trauma, or all this sort of thing. So I then discovered that there was a technique for bridging into the consciousness of a person and asking the person's consciousness, how should we do this? So how do we get rid of that piece of luggage or that piece of baggage or piece of conditioning that person has? So these days we can connect with our machines and our technology. We can connect with the person's consciousness in such a profound way that the body's consciousness will tell us what to do. And we've built this protocol, like an interface, that is a two-way interface with our equipment, and it allows the person's consciousness to say, well, actually, in order to fix this, we need to do this.
Wow.
And the body will actually tell us that.
So this is working with the free will of the person but at an unconscious level for the average person.
That is true.
But
Yes.
working with, in some way, what we might say their higher self or their.
Yes, but ultimately they are autonomous. In other words, they are totally in control of whether they want to participate, or the higher self actually is in control of whether they want the lower self to participate. And sometimes the lower self is going, no, and the higher self is going, it's time. So the higher self wins.
And I just want to say that at this conference yesterday, Victor and his partner gifted all of us at the conference this particular pendant, which Victor's also wearing. So maybe you could translate what this actually is.
Okay. Well, this pendant has a series, and I'm going to struggle to find the right words for this, but we say it's a series of frequencies, frequency patterns, but it's got really nothing to do with frequency. It's more like information. So in this pendant, which is a pendant full of crystals, by the way, crystal compound.
Okay.
Crystal compound, which we've moulded into plastic. Very clever little process. We make them ourselves, and this particular pendant has been charged up with information that, in this particular case, is to awaken the light body. So the light body, I mean, everybody's got a light body, but through various different interferences, a lot of people have their light body sort of shrunk and not fully active.
Right.
So I've noticed this in my meditations, and I've got a great team of guides and helpers, as well as a good terrestrial team as well. And between us, we've come up with a series of patterns or information that when the person wears it, the crystals radiate that information into the biofield, and the body then responds by doing the healing it needs to do.
So it's self-correcting, essentially.
It's dynamic as well. Yeah. So so the pendant, this pendant, then radiates patterns for clearing different interferences. In this particular case, we have pendants for all sorts of different things, and in fact, we can make a pendant for virtually anything, whether it's any type of energy imbalance. We can make a pendant for. We're into balancing energy. That's what we do. That's our speciality, I suppose, if we look at it like that.
And I would say, in fact, how many people were there yesterday? Maybe 50 people?
50 people, yeah.
And I didn't hear anyone say that they didn't have some kind of experience with this.
Yes,
so
it was
empirically, I mean, there's something profound going on with this technology.
Yes.
Which is why we're sitting with Victor today. This is not a sales pitch. We in fact just met over the weekend. So yeah. And you're also wearing a bracelet. And is this a diverse technology, or?
It's exactly the same technology, really. It's just another form of it. I mean, some people like pendants. Some people like wristbands, and we have other delivery mechanisms as well. I mean, we could use the mobile phone, for instance, as a delivery mechanism.
But you're also, I mean, this audience, I believe, has been following us with a series of interviews with physicists. So people have heard in this series the idea of quantum entanglement. And this is part of the method of this technology's function?
It is. We have the opportunity now to have a wristband or a pendant that the end user can change the formula that is sent to this particular device.
And how would I do that?
And typically you would go onto your laptop or your phone, dial up our website. The log-on credentials would be remembered after the first time. So you would see your wristband with its unique identity that it has, which is a worldwide unique identity.
Wow.
So the quantum entanglement part of it is the fact that this device is scanned into our machine, our main machine, our broadcasting server that we have, and the formula is then, by a process of quantum entanglement, sent from our device to the wristband or to the pendant. I mean, it's a technique that's been around thousands of years. It's not something that we've invented, really. We've just understood it or rediscovered that technique. In fact, any healer who wants to do some healing at a distance, how does that work?
So remote healing.
It's remote healing, basically, but you need some sort of connection. So what we've done is we've created a device here that has that connection, so that there's a quantum entanglement, so there's information that travels through that energetic bridge to the devices.
And we should say that in quantum entanglement there's no delay. I mean, it's instantaneous.
There's no delay, it's instantaneous. So, I mean, the slowest thing is actually the server going from one formula to the other, and that's about 90 seconds.
Okay.
So it doesn't take long to change formulas.
Right. Do you, Victor, do you have a sense that in some way this technology has come back into the scope of humanity because we're at a very specific point in the history of humanity?
I think if I look at the last 25 years, I've been directed along a very, very straight line in terms of I've had things to do, one after the other, and it has not deviated in the last 25 years. So if I trust my inner guidance, or anybody trusts their inner guidance the way that I do, then you know that all you have to do is just do the next thing, just do the next thing, just do the next thing. And we've arrived at this most amazing time on the planet. I think it could probably go either way right now. But what I'm hoping is that the more people that wake up, and I mean literally people are waking up all the time through their own spiritual practice, or through, it just happens, or through trauma, or through just realization. As that process starts to unfold, I think the number of awakened beings on the planet is increasing asymptotically. It's a straight line curve, and this is a very exciting time because I think we're able to keep up with the pace of the vibration of the planet. As my understanding at the moment, is my only inner understanding, is there are waves of energy hitting the planet on a daily or weekly basis, which has the capacity to dissolve core issues within a person. Well, that sounds like a great idea because we'd like all of our core issues dissolved, so
that's
that we
not
can
an easy process,
be more
though.
authentic. But it's not an easy process. So this pendant is designed to help that process by getting rid of some of the interferences that I've become aware of, and it does it extremely well.
So the difficulty we have with this energy that's hitting the planet are previously existing blockages that are causing an interference when this energy tries to elevate.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we all carry these core issues, and the core issues are something that can cause, just
kind of like the noise in the room right now, or in the space right now.
Absolutely, absolutely a devastating impact upon a person when their core issues, raise up so that the core issues raise up for healing. So when a core issue raises for healing, we become aware of all that stuff that's inside us, and a lot of people, some people just have as I call it, a spaz attack in the middle of a superstore, just for no reason at all. They're just blown up. And that's because these vibrational waves that are coming in, which are trying to raise the consciousness, raise the vibration of the planet, are so strong that people are just being subjected to this, and those core issues are just blowing up everywhere.
Wow.
So this is happening all over the world. There is nobody who escapes that. But also my inner tell, not intel, but inner tell. I know it's a play on words. Says that those waves are about to increase in amplitude.
About to increase meaning next week, next month, next year?
I haven't got a time, and I think time is a very difficult thing intuitively or psychically to.
It's dynamic with what's happening on the planet.
Actually, I think it's probably an off-planet thing. So it's going to happen anyway. Right. But I'm not sure when. But the amplitude of those waves seems to be increasing, and I think the brakes are coming off. So we're going to get some higher intensity vibrational shifts. Right. And people are going to just have to deal with it. So our technology is trying to smooth the way so people can have their own personal experience now. Getting rid of some of this stuff, so that when these waves coming, it doesn't actually flatten them. Right. And it's flattening a lot of people, causing, I think it's the cause of riots and wars and all sorts of things all over the place.
I mean, even this past week, we've seen an extraordinary amplification of violence on the planet.
Yeah.
So you think this is also partly this energy that's hitting the planet and the reaction that's playing out in more
Yes, I do.
dramatic
I
terms.
think it may be even, maybe just intuitively, if I looked at it right now for the first time, I think it's probably 2/3 of the problem. It's these waves of energy clearing stuff out.
And is this based on levels of consciousness? When this energy hits people who are at earlier stages of developing consciousness, they're less able to process it?
Yes, definitely.
So then we get that acted out as violence.
Well, whatever their flavour.
Right.
We've all
Interesting.
got different flavours of stuff we haven't healed, conditioning.
Victor, what would you say to so I know many people that I'm speaking to, even when I'm out in the world, are saying, I'm having now these completely non-rational experiences.
That's the ones, yeah.
But are not able to trust that inner voice, that intuition. I mean, what would you say to them? How do people work to balance this rational, line that this is how we're supposed to live our lives with the more intuitive, we're at a very specific time and listening to this will guide me into what I should and need to be doing to be contributory?
That's a very tricky question. If I asked my Lama that, one of my Lama teachers, he would say, well, you just go within, So he said, well, thank you, Rinpoche. You spend the next time trying to go within. Then he comes along and says, no, you're trying to go within. And that's an outward experience. So you think, oh, well, thank you, Rinpoche. so you need to be. So you try to be, So he comes along and says, well, no, that's another outward journey, So you just need to be. So anyway, we never get that, basically, because he's coming from a place where he is in himself, in that place of being.
Right.
However, when we get to that place that he recommends, that he says this is it, you actually get there, and then one of my students will come along and say, how did you get to that place of this? I give them exactly the same words that he did, which are the words are total rubbish because they don't describe that place. However, what we've been shown from our guides and our helpers, our team, I call them the blue team, they said, well, actually, if you're able to bridge to a place in consciousness and actually make that into a pendant, then people wearing the pendant can have an experience of that place, and they can jump from a place that's undescribable, ineffable, to that place of experience. And once they've actually got to that place of experience and had that experience and held it in their field, they've arrived at that place. So you can just jump those last two steps. So
you're creating an immersive experience.
Immersive experience,
and I think it's key right now. It's not about teaching people, it's about experiential.
Yeah, it's about getting to them to have that experience.
Yeah.
And the Lama would say the same. You sit by the side of him, and apart from being fried, because, the Lamas are pretty strong,
right.
You sit there, but the idea is to merge into the field that they've created in order to raise your vibration. That's why you have, that sort of guru type or Lama type situation where you sit round and trying to be in that space, right, and meditate deeply and go within and try and touch that place where the Lama is trying to show you where it is. But it's difficult to show somebody. It's much easier to immerse them in it. So we've created this technology and other things like this in order to show people that if you actually bridge to that place in consciousness, which we've done for them, it's not about tuning your radio set randomly, right, because you don't know where you've got to focus your aerial, So we just tune it into this place, and it's like, oh well, okay, well that's where it is. Let's just go and merge into that, and oh wow, that feels fantastic. And at that point, there's this moment of awareness, because as soon as you've got that connection, you won't lose it, and it's infinitely shareable.
Wow.
So that's our thing, is infinitely sharing this technology so that people can have the experience and then give the pendant to somebody else, a friend or a family member.
So it's not specific to a person. This can be shared between.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
So that's really the essence of what we're trying to do, is trying to evolve consciousness in a way that is self-empowering. And that's what it does, exactly what it does.
Well, I really appreciate your sitting down to explain this to us. And can we give our viewers some place that they can actually find these themselves?
Sure, you can. We'll put a link on the bottom of the film here.
Great, good. Well, thank you. I know you have to rush off to the airport now, but I'm really pleased that you took this time to sit down with us.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.